Hey guys, it's Monday. We are starting a fresh week and a fresh unit. We are in Unit 5, Week 1, because this unit is going to cover 2 weeks, and our theme for this unit is food. What an awesome unit this one's going to be. So, let's get right into it. I will link the playlist of all of our homeschooling videos in case you want to start fresh from the beginning. We've done every single week, every unit that we've completed so far, and we will continue to do so. So also, if you're thinking about following that one, then don't forget to subscribe. So for this unit, a lot of the stuff that we are going to use is already in our house because we're dealing with food. But some of the supplies we will be using this week need some play food or real food, some baking utensils, muffin tins, large bin or container, because you know there's a sensory bin, some Post-its, some masking tape, and some stuff to make soup. We're going to use a lot more stuff, but that's a little bit of the rundown. Trust me, you'll have most of the things you need already. The books that we are going to be reading this week, again, I just look most of them up on YouTube if I don't have it in my home. We are going to be reading Jamberry by Bruce Deegan, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs by Judy Bartlett, and Stone Soup by Marsha Brown. We also have a new poem and song for the week. You probably know these ones already. Well, the song, it's a popular one. So this unit is going to help introduce your child to the topic of food and food preparation and what foods they like and where food comes from. And we're going to give them some skills in the science of cooking in the kitchen. The greatest thing about this unit is you are going to be able to carry it on throughout every day, even after you're done the activities that are laid out in this program, which I will mention again, by the way, is I am following Playing Preschool, and I found that on thebusytoddler.com. Awesome, awesome, awesome. I can't love it enough. So this morning, after you do your calendar routine and go over the poem and song, you're going to introduce the topic of food. Some questions to ask your kid would be, what is food? Why do we eat food? And where does food come from? Today's read aloud is going to be the Jamberry book. And you're welcome to do a picture walk through this book first and try to guess what's going to happen before you do an actual reading. Then we're going to get into our learning activity, which is going to be some sorting of food, followed by our easy activity, which is a bit of dramatic play, otherwise known as using our imagination. So this morning we started with the learning activity. I had a basket of play food on the table. You're welcome to use regular food if you don't have any play food, or if that's just an option you feel is best for you. When I was going over the activities laid out for today, I thought, oh, what an easy day this is going to be. We have to sort some food and then pretend to cook food. And Nola loves food. She has a basket of food. It never leaves the rotation of our toys. It's always out there. She absolutely loves play food, real food, pretending to cook, really helping to cook, all types of things, anything you can think of that circles around food. And as soon as that thought entered my mind, I should have known better. So I had the basket of play food set out on the table along with our new poem and song. I thought, great, this is where we are going to sort food in many, many different ways. You can sort by fruits and vegetables, cupboard food, freezer food, fridge food. You can sort them by shape. You can sort them by size. Ask your child how they want to sort this food. So Nola started out sorting. She had the sweets, and then she had the fruits and vegetables, and then she had the breads. Today, she was very possessive about her food and how it was being sorted. Do you want to sort by color? Nope. Do you want to sort the fruits from vegetables? Nope. Do you want to sort the fresh food? Nope. I just couldn't win with this kid today. So, I didn't quite give up there. I just left it alone. We left the play food on the table, and then as I was preparing food today, later I'm going to ask her if she can help me put these ingredients away. So after we made our morning smoothie, which is awesome. It's a green smoothie, but there's only one green thing in there, and you and your kids are gonna love this smoothie. I will also link something to that smoothie below for you. So this worked out great. When she was finished snacking and finished her smoothie, I just kind of played silly, like trying to put the frozen fruit that we use for our smoothie into the cupboard, and just trying to put things in the wrong spot, and she just thought it was hilarious, and she put everything away. Then our dramatic play is to have your child pretend to cook. Whether this is in your kitchen or in a play kitchen, if they perhaps have one, you can leave this totally imaginary. They can use some play food if they have play food and utensils and kitchen stuff. You can give them measuring cups, measuring spoons, whatever kitchen utensils they may think that they need. back, or you could even bring out Play-Doh and make some pretend food that you're going to bake. So again, this is something we do pretty much well every day. And when I say we, I mean Nola. She does this of her own accord on just about a daily basis. But of course not today. So while we were folding laundry, she was chatting about her show that she watches with these dragons. And I asked her what those dragons eat. And she told me slinklinks. Like, I was crazy that I didn't know the answer to that question. So I asked her if she could make some slinklinks. Bam! Genius idea. We went into the kitchen and she collected bowls and measuring spoons, but she has a lot of that kind of stuff in her little kitchen too, but I let her take whatever she wanted from the kitchen, which wasn't much. I asked her what kind of food was this slink link? You know, was it breakfast, lunch, or dinner? It was all of it, including dessert. So she didn't ask for much help in the mixing department. She was adding tablespoons and teaspoons and cups of this and that and just naming off about every ingredient she has ever heard us use in the kitchen. She also cooked this slink links on the stovetop for a little while before she put it into the oven. Oh wait, she let it rest for a little while before she put it in the oven. I don't know where she got that from. And this went on for hours. She was back and forth. It was resting, it was cooking, it was cooling, we were taste testing. It was a really, really great activity that went across a large span of the day. Then a little later, as her little brother and I were going through his flip book, we came to the food page, which is everybody's favorite page. Hey, you. Did you know I was talking about you? Yeah. Hi. So this has a mix of fruits and vegetables and some breads and cheeses and cookies, stuff like that. So I started to point to particular foods and asked her if she knew whether they grew from the ground or they grew from the tree. She got everyone right, and I know that we talked about most of them before, but not all of them. And it was really, really great to see how well she answered all of these questions. I was very pleasantly surprised. This also brought up the topic of where milk comes from. We've never really talked about that before, that the milk in our house comes from cows and people drink all kinds of different milks. I didn't get into too much detail about other varieties. I just stuck to what's in our home. And also about eggs. She wasn't completely sure about where eggs came from. So we also discussed a few places, such as a goose was her, that's what she came up with. A goose, a quail, and ducks and chickens. I feel like we covered a broad span of the topic of food today, and we had great success with the activities. Even though they didn't turn out the way that I thought they were going to be and the way that I had planned, they still turned out great, actually even better. It's Tuesday, so let's see what we got on board for today. You're going to start as usual with your morning calendar routine along with the poem and song for this unit. Then you're going to review the topic of food, and today you really want to bring into play the question of what food is good for our bodies. Today's read aloud is going to be a repeat of yesterday's. So our things to talk about today are the introduction of the letter M. Our learning activity is going to be an alphabet hunt with that letter, and our easy activity is going to be some counting. So let's get into this. The learning activity for the day is to do an alphabet hunt. Take your kid to the kitchen cupboard and see how many letter M's they can find on some packages. You only have to do a few just so that they recognize both the capital and the small version of this letter. Today we started out the day with just simply the letter M on the table along with our poem and song sheet. So I also included on the back of this letter M card just a few words. Now that we have introduced a few letters already, I'm trying to include those letters with the words that I'm using on this letter M card. So after we talked a little bit about the letter M, then we went through our poem and song, and that is where we first looked for the letter M. Then we went into the kitchen to see how many letter M's we could find on the bottom shelf of our cupboard. We also talked today a lot about healthy food, since that was our review topic, is what food is good for our body. This is a conversation we have a lot in our house between Nola and myself, because she is very curious about food, and coming into the age that she is now and being exposed to different food, candy and cookies, and chips at other people's houses, Not that we don't have any of that stuff here, it's just very limited what she gets. She would start asking for these things more often, so we'd start to explain to her that these are treats, they're not healthy for our bodies, that's why we just have a little bit sometimes, but we predominantly eat good, healthy food. She went through a whole phase where she was asking me what things were full of, mostly fruits and veggies and berries, and thank goodness for Alexa, because that phase lasted a long time. And I mean, do you know the nutritional value of a grape? Alexa does. So like I said, this is a topic of conversation that we really do have a lot across all different types of food, whether we're drinking, whether we're eating, but I really made a point today with every meal that we had. I asked her whether she thought this was a healthy food or not healthy food, and she got it bang on. We also took this unit a little bit further today and made some Rice Krispie squares. We were talking about this a lot last week. She was on me to make some Rice Krispie squares with pink marshmallows. So knowing that we were coming up onto the food unit, I just pushed it off for a few days, and we did that for another great activity to do today. And like I said yesterday, this is a really great unit to, include your kid or kids and get them into the kitchen. It sounds a little scary and it can be a little daunting, but with a little bit of finessing, they really can begin to help you in the kitchen. Now, things are going to take a little bit longer. Things are going to get a little bit messier than perhaps they normally would, but it is so much easier to have your child helping you do this than trying to have them occupied doing something else, and then they're constantly, Mom, I need a drink. Mom, I'm thirsty. Mom, can you wipe my bum? Mom, 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 Mom. You know how it goes, right? I just find it so much easier to include them, and with that repetitiveness, I've been inviting Nola into the kitchen since about the age of 18 months, since we DIY'd our own little kitchen helper and brought her up to the counter height, and now she really is helpful in the kitchen. My 1-year-old, on the other hand, not so helpful, but we include him too. We did watch the Jamberry again today, and what we discussed throughout watching it a couple of times were which were the fake berries and which were the real berries in that story, because they have a little fun play on words and rhyming in that book. Then we got into our learning activity. Today is to simply count out some goldfish. So you're going to take some post-it notes or just a regular piece of paper, write the numbers 1 through 5 if your child is able to count up to 5, and then have them place and count out the according amount of goldfish above that number. So I took out the placemat that already had our 10 grid on it, and much like I did with the jewels last week, I originally just wrote the numbers 1 through 5. I didn't want to go all the way to 10 right from the beginning, even though Nola can count to 10. That may seem overwhelming to them when they see that many numbers, and by now she knows what is coming. She knows that we're going to be counting things out, and I just want to keep it light and fun. So like I did with the jewels, first I did the number 1, and then actually, while I was getting the goldfish, I took the Post-its that were numbered 1 through 5 off and rearranged them just on the placemat and asked her to put them back in the proper order while I went and got the goldfish, so I wouldn't lose her and she'd stay at the table. And it worked. So we started out the counting activity, but she was eating a lot of the goldfish. So by the time we got through the number 5, I could see that we probably didn't have enough to finish this counting activity. So I told her she wasn't allowed to eat any more of the goldfish until the activity was done, and then she could eat them all. This was really hard for her, but she did it because man, oh man, did she want those goldfish. So throughout this activity, you want to count every time they lose count while they're on a number, or when you're going on to the next number. I know that I have to constantly remind Nola to touch the ones that she's counting, otherwise she loses count. And even though sometimes she is touching them, she'll touch them much faster than she's actually counting, and she'll come out with a number that's larger than the number that we actually have. So I do assist her a lot in the counting, whether that's verbally or physically pointing with her, but we still made it through this activity and she really enjoyed it because she loves eating goldfish. So that's it for today. We'll see you tomorrow. Hey guys, it's Wednesday, and today we are going to start with your morning calendar routine along with the poem and song for this unit. Then we are going to introduce the book Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. You're always encouraged to do a picture walk through the book first, try to guess what's going to happen with your child, and then go and do a full read aloud. Things to talk about today are food, where food comes from, how does it get to our grocery stores or in farmers markets, and how do we turn that food into our dinner or meals. Then we're going to get to our learning activity, which is a food graph, followed by our easy activity, which is going to be some transferring, which is kind of like a sensory bin. So let's do this. I decided this morning that it would be a good idea to combine the learning activity with the things to talk about, which is just the questions about food and where food comes from and how it gets to certain places and how it turns into our dinner. So I had the food graph stuff out on the table and ready to go this morning. Now I also thought a little bit ahead, just anticipating that whatever food I put on this plate for her to put into this graph was going to end up being breakfast. So keep that in mind if your kids like mine. So she easily got these food items onto a graph all on her own, and then I started asking her questions, like which types of foods are these? Fruits, vegetables. We also introduced the grain food group for this one because we had never really talked about that before. She knows fruit, she knows vegetables. We also talked about biggest and smallest and how they feel, whether they're hard or squishy, the shapes that they are, what, circles, balls, and banana shaped, because there's really no other way to describe a banana, right? This got us into the topic of where food comes from. Now she's pretty well versed in, she knows what grows in the garden. So as far as how does it get to the grocery store, that question, with some encouragement and reminders from me reverting back to our book on apples right at the very beginning of this program, they explain a little bit about, seed, growth, harvesting, and then getting to the grocery stores and selling and us buying from the stores and markets. So she did piece it together, and that it's, the farm truck takes to the grocery store, which for a 3-year-old, that answer's right. And then I was asking her how we turned this food into dinner. And at first, she was kind of confused by this question, so I just started asking her more questions like, what do we do with the food before we eat it? Is it cold or is it hot? And, do we put it in the fridge to make it dinner, or where do we put it? So she started to, catch on to this game and guess the right spot of, we take it from the fridge and we cook it either on the stove or on the barbecue or in the oven, and we make this food into our dinner then. So it was a really good activity this morning and really good conversation about food and how it gets from there to here. Our easy activity for the day is a scoop and transfer. So in the program, it is suggested that you get a large shallow bin and then get a muffin tin and a smaller bowl full of something small and loose. I would have used rice that we already have separated for these kinds of activities. Then you're to give your child whatever you think they would need, like, or may challenge them a little bit in transferring these items. I would have just given Nola my small little, 1/4 of a cup measuring cup. And then they take the rice or cereal or beans, whatever you've given them, and scoop it into each section of the muffin tin. So this takes some forethought to not overflow just one section of the muffin tin, to put some in each one instead of using it all in the first few. There's a whole bunch of different things going through your little one's mind as they are filling this up. But we didn't do that today. We had another activity, which is the same idea, just in a different format. I had pre-cooked a bunch of chicken last night that I wanted to shred and package up this morning for us because we do some bulk cooking around here, and Nola loves to help me with this activity. So she took the chicken pieces with her tongs and put them into the mixer. I control the mixer. I turn the mixer on, and then I dump the chicken out of that bowl when it's ready into a shallower dish for her because she chose to stand on her stool instead of the helper, so she was a bit lower. And then I give her the containers. She has to fill up each container with the chicken. So to me, this is the same idea of an activity. And I'm inviting her into the kitchen since this unit is surrounding food. And she is actually helping me in the kitchen. And this is one of those activities she loves to do, but normally I would have just given her a spoon as the bowl is quite deep. Since we had a shallower dish, and since we've been doing this program, I thought I'm gonna give her a small pair of tongs because that would be easier for her in a sense of the shallow bowl. And she's never done it before with tongs. So she went through this and did fantastically, as I knew she would. She also eats some of the chicken as she transfers it, and quite frankly, ain't nobody coming over for dinner these days, so I'm totally okay with this. So again, I'll mention that Nola has been helping me in the kitchen for over 1.5 years now, so I know what she is capable of, and she knows her boundaries, so I know when I can walk away and leave her and when I have to stick around to where she may need my help. After that, she also had another chore of filling up the cat dishes. She has a little jug, she scoops it out, she fills it up. She determines how many scoops she needs until the jug is full, and I keep asking her stuff like this while she is doing it. You know, she'll scoop one up and I say, do you have a lot in your jug or do you have a little? How many more scoops do you think you'll need until the cat's jar is full? She does quite well with this. She does spill some, but then she participates in the cleanup with me when we're all done. This is still, now I'm into like that horrible spot of a bruise where it's like yellow and green and just lovely to look at, isn't it? And that's all for today. Hey guys, what day is it? Thursday. It's Thursday today. Let's do this. We're gonna start as always with your morning calendar routine along with the poem and song for this unit. Then we're gonna review the topic of food. Then we are going to do a read aloud, which is just a repeat of yesterday's. Our things to talk about today are a review and recap of the letter M, the sounds it makes, some words they know. If you have a physical copy of the book Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, then you can go back and find the letter M in a capital and small version just through a few pages. Then we are going to get into our learning activity, which is counting some cans, followed by our easy activity. So today I just started with simply the letter M on the table because I was going to combine our learning activity with our easy activity today because they coincide with each other, and you're gonna have all this stuff out already anyways. We discussed the letter M a little bit more. I gave her a few more words on the back of her letter M card to talk about, and we really, when we're focusing on a letter in the program, I will really emphasize that letter a lot. Just in our simple conversations, if I say a word that starts with M, then I'll say, the word more starts with M, more. And then she starts doing that back to me as well. We re-watched Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, which she likes. She doesn't love it, I'll say. She got through it 1.5 times and then lost interest. Then I brought us into the kitchen, and I had previously moved down some cans to her level because typically they're not where she can reach them in the cupboard. And I asked her if she could grab some cans out of the cupboard for me, and this question struck her as a little bit odd because it's something that I've never asked her before, and cans have never been at her level before, and we don't, we use chickpeas and they come in cans, but we don't have a lot of canned food. So she was a little thrown off and didn't really want to participate, and she was in a bit of a mood because she woke up at like 6 o'clock this morning, which is like 1.5 hours to 2 hours earlier than normal. So I knew we were gonna have some sort of day, I just wasn't sure what yet. I told her that I wanted to try and build some stuff with cans and boxes from the cupboard instead of just our normal building blocks and Legos. And this confused her because to her, that's not what we use these for, Mom. We use building blocks and Legos and the Mega Blocks to build stuff, not food from the cupboard. So it took a little bit of convincing on my part, and I was trying to get her to start off with the learning activity part of this game, which is to have your child pull some cans out of the cupboard, or not just cans, it can be boxes, but you pull some food out of the cupboard, and then you call out a number, and they are to count out that many cans or boxes or bags of whatever you have provided them with. So I was having trouble keeping her attention with this. She really didn't want to participate. So I slid a can over to her on the floor and said, can you slide a can? And that piqued her interest. That got her attention. So she did it, and then I said, can you slide me 3 cans, 5 cans, 7 cans? I, started shouting out some numbers to her, and we were sliding them back and forth, and that seemed to satisfy her, and she quite enjoyed doing this little game. But it didn't last too long because she quickly was losing focus and was ready to leave and go do something else. So as I was asking her to help me try to build something, and what can we build, and I'm asking her questions like that, she doesn't really care and doesn't really want to participate. So I'm quickly kind of pulling at strings here, just shouting some stuff out at her to grab her attention, see if I can get her to engage with me in this. And she asked me for a Rice Krispie square, a pink dinosaur Rice Krispie that we made earlier in this week. And I said, sure, but we have to find a way to get him into your mouth because your mouth's way up high and he's so far down on the floor. And she was like, yeah, I could just lay down and you could put him in my mouth. And you know, that's true. We could have done that. And I said, how about we build a bridge and the dinosaur will walk up the bridge into your mouth. This got her attention. Now I have her engaged. So we started playing around with some of the cans and boxes and I was asking her, how do you think we can build this bridge? The bridge has to be up high off the ground, so it needs something to stand on. So she started pulling out a can. And then I said, okay, well, we need more than one because a bridge, we have to be able to go under. You know, I'm trying to give her hints and clues and help guide her along without just giving her the answer and doing it for her. So with a little bit of my help, we managed to build a bridge. And we had just so happened to build it on a little bit of an incline. Just the boxes that we were using were different thicknesses. So I got the Rice Krispie square, or the pink Rice Krispie dinosaur, excuse me, and did the little march up there and she took a bite and we all shared. And then I grabbed a little styrofoam ball and I said, let's see if we can roll this ball down the bridge since the bridge goes up a little bit. And again, she didn't seem too interested, but she played along and I did this knowing that the ball was going to just fall off because it was so light and you know what we're not working with a level item right now. But like I said, I was just scrambling and this ball was on the counter, so it just came to mind, I grabbed it and we tried it. Then when that didn't work, we also had a little can of baby rice puffs, little snacks on the floor. She said, what about this? And at first I thought she just wanted to eat some. And then she tilted it on its side and it rolled down the boxes. It rolled down our bridge successfully all the way. She is one clever little girl. So this activity, though it was a little bit of a struggle for me to keep her engaged, we managed to do that and we managed to succeed with great success. At least I think we had great success anyways. Now I do feel that this activity was a little bit rushed for us because we had Colton with us as well, and quite frankly he was just trying to eat the boxes. So I was really kind of scrambling between the two of them to keep him from not eating cardboard and to give Nola the attention and the assistance that she needed with this, because this is what's referred to as a STEM activity, which is science, technology, engineering, and math. So this is a really great activity. There's a lot going on. There's a lot going through your kid's brain. If your child doesn't get it the first time, that is fine. It's all the more reason to bring it back out and go again. Help them along, play with them, help them to come up with some ideas of how you can possibly make it work, or you know your kid, you know how to get their attention and maybe bring them back in and try again. So this activity, I think, when Dad comes home and asks Nola what she did today, hopefully she tells him this, and I will give him a little bit of a heads up, and I'll have him sit down with her. He's really good at stuff like this. He's just so much more creative when it comes to building with the kids' materials, because for me, I'm just like, well, look, we built a tower, but he builds bridges and castles and animals, and just this is so much more his thing. So I'm gonna get him to take a shot at doing this with her and see what they come up with while I occupy Colton. So that was it for today, and we'll see you tomorrow. It's Friday. And even though that doesn't really mean much of a difference around here, what day of the week it is, it still feels good. So let's finish this week strong. Today we're gonna start the same as always. You do your morning calendar routine and add in the poem and song for this week. Then we're gonna get along to our read aloud for the day, which is Stone Soup by Marcia Brown or Marcia Brown. I'm not really sure the correct pronunciation of her name. Things to talk about today are just a recap and recall of what happens in the story. Then we're gonna have our learning activity, which is a shape hunt in your kitchen cupboards, followed by our easy activity, which is to make stone soup. So let's do this. So today we started off with the letter M post-it hunt. because Nola's been asking me for it almost all week, and we just haven't had a chance to get to it today. So that, in all actuality, is what we started out with, and there's still a couple she hasn't found yet. After our alphabet hunt, I asked Nola what her favorite thing was to have for breakfast. Now, this we were supposed to actually ask yesterday, but I knew her answer was going to be oatmeal, and I was all out of oats. And if you're going to ask this question, then you better be prepared to make whatever they answer with. So I saved it for today. Thankfully, she answered with oatmeal, so we whipped up her oatmeal and peanut butter and blueberries, and it was glorious. Then we got into our read aloud for the day, and she quite enjoyed this book. We watched it a few times together, and each time we watched it, we would pause at the end, because we were watching it on YouTube, and I would do a little bit of recall and recap with her, and we watched it 3 times through, and then the second time we did that, she did more of the recap, and by the 3rd time she could explain to me what was happening in the story. So then I asked her if she'd like to make her own stone soup, and of course her answer was, yes, we can make stone soup. So last night I had picked a couple of stones out of the driveway, because for this activity you are supposed to let your child go outside and grab some stones, then they need to wash them really well, and then make your stone soup with whatever you have in your fridge and your cupboards. Use fresh food, use leftovers, whatever you have available to you, and let your child first wash the stone really, really well, because you have to put this in the pot or else it's just not going to be the same. And then mix up your soup, and this is up to you of whether it's just going to be a Mod Podge or whether it's going to be an actual edible soup. Your kid will probably at least taste it no matter what, so you better be ready to taste this with them. I had picked a couple of stones out and just set them kind of in our mudroom area because she had a few stones on the shelf. They got chucked out the back door again. I don't know what happened to them. But she said to me, no, I need smooth stones, like in the story. And I had gently placed a couple on the table in the garage. Uh-oh, I hope they're still there, because she did this months ago. I went out into the garage because it's about -10 outside today, even before the wind chill, so I'm not bundling up both of the kids to go outside for 2 seconds to pick up a couple of stones. Thankfully, when I got to the garage, the stones were still there. Ha! Hallelujah. So I brought those back in. She was thrilled, I was thankful. So I let her wash the stone. While she was washing the stone, just in a little bowl of soapy water on the counter, we were talking about the sort of ingredients that we were going to put into our soup. We managed to get together carrots, green beans, corn, can of diced tomatoes, some broth, and then I later had some leftover rice from yesterday's dinner that I tossed in this soup. But these were the ingredients that she was mixing in. So once she deemed the stone clean enough, which she scrubbed that baby for probably half an hour, then I set up all the ingredients for her just in little dishes that were easier for her to add into the pot. And this way she could totally do this on her own. So I set them all up on the counter for her, and then she got out the pot, and with very little assistance from me, she added all the ingredients into the pot. We shook on a little salt and a little pepper, add a little thyme, and then set it on the then set it on the stove top to simmer. So that was our easy activity. While the soup was simmering, we kind of just stumbled into our easy activity, which is to do a shape hunt in your pantry or kitchen cupboards, wherever you store your food. Now, I found this a little bit challenging because most of the things that are in our pantry are either rectangular shaped boxes or cylinders, like a can or a bottle of something. We found one of these. This is what started the conversation, is this box of little sandwich baggies had fallen down, and Noel asked me, what's this? And I said, what does it look like? And she said, it looks like a rectangle. She's right, it does look like a rectangle. I grabbed this again because the flap in it, the opening, right? That's as close as we could get to a triangle in our cupboard. Thankfully, she wasn't asking for any hexagons or octagons because it ended there. So we did do our shape hunt, and it was something that just sort of happened, which is great. I love it when our activities just kind of organically come about like that. So I thought this was a really great way to end the week with Nola making us all soup, which we did eat for lunch. So that's it, another fantastic week. Done, easy peasy, just like that, with lots of great easy, virtually no prep activities as usual. I can't say enough good things about this program. We are absolutely loving it. Next week we will continue with more food, and we're gonna get into a little more of the making of food. Like we're gonna make some bread in a bag, and we're gonna make some ice cream also in a bag, but it's gonna be lots of fun. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you are considering starting some homeschooling at home with your preschooler or toddler, then please consider subscribing. Thanks.